Hello folks, so today I want to talk about some tips and share some experiences about replacing the oven burning elements for the electric ovens. And last week we had our oven's dual element burning unit completely broke down, and upon replacement, if you look closely, there is a wire that has been burned. The coil has been burned, so it's broken. So the inner heating element doesn't work, but the outer still works. But of course, that's not how it's supposed to be functioning properly. So it needed a brand new burning dual element burning unit, and I actually bought two because the first one I bought, as you can see, came damaged. This rim is a rim that's used to shield the hot area from the surrounding elements underneath the top cover. And if this is broken, it might have a risk of have the hot air, or it might just damage the surrounding elements and the wires underneath. So make sure when you receive your replacement, check the rims and make sure there's no cracks around. See, the first one is cracked, so the seller gave me a refund and I ordered a different one, a brand new one. And the brand new one is actually already installed underneath. If you just follow the instruction that they sent to you, by the way, the oven we have is a Amana brand, which is owned by Whirlpool, and I think there are a lot of other brands that's also owned by Whirlpool, such as Maytag, that all uses the same Whirlpool element. So if you're going online and you input your model number for your oven, and if you don't know where to find it, it's usually, if you open the drawers, it's usually right over there, somewhere near the drawer at the bottom of the oven. So mine's over here. So as you can see, the model number and serial number is all listed over here. So just go online and plug in the numbers and find the actual elements that you need to replace. For example, like mine have a dual burning element, so I ordered this one, and it did come on time, so which is good. And if you look closely, because when I was installing I had some problem, if you look closely, the sensor is actually very different than the model I have. And I think this one, because of its age, the old unit has a older design of the I think what they call it epic sensor, which senses temperature and connects to the coil and stuff. So it's actually very different. And if you look at the back, just try to flip it over. If you look at the back, see the old one actually have looks like a simpler design, which also is a two-piece design. So actually this element, I can take it off and pull it away and maybe get replaced. And this is where it's connecting to the coils, and this element is fixed permanently. And if you look at the new replacement unit, which is the new unit, updated unit to replace the old one, it have a one-piece design. So I'm not sure if it's removable, because it looks like this area is actually soldered onto the unit. And if I unscrew this and try to remove that, I'm not sure if it's able to be removed. But that's not the concern, because most likely it will fit and you don't have to remove this thing at all. As you can see, the broken pieces. And I'm just actually gonna go ahead and remove those broken pieces. The surrounding shield. And flip this over. And this one, when I took it out, the surrounding shield is also cracked. So I think with the use, that thing will crack, but as long as it's in place and you don't move it and touch it, it should be fine. what I want to say next. Yes, even though this two unit is different, you'll find out that your replacement will likely have the same amount of pins that you need to plug in. For example, the old unit, if you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins that you can connect, and this one is actually only connecting from this sensor to this area, so that doesn't count, because the new one, if you count, have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pins, and it's very easy. Before you disconnect everything, make sure you take a picture of the connection and write down which port, which wire connects to which terminal, and that is also very easy to do, because if you look closely, it's all numbered. So 1A, 1B, 2A, and 2B. As long as it's numbered and you take a picture of the color corresponding to the number, you should be able to plug it into the new unit with corresponding numbers, because the numbers will all still be the same. So over here 2A, 2B, 1B, and the 1A it's missing because the 1A is the actual wire that's like connecting these two sensors. So it's already built in, so there's no 1A here. And of course there are two connections on the side, the smaller ones, that's actually connecting to the coil. Make sure you just align them correctly. So for example, if the left one is a brown color and the right one is a white colored wire, make sure when you connect to the new unit, left end, you put the brown one on the left and the white one on the right, and that would make sure you're connecting it correctly, because those areas on some of the old unit is not numbered, so there's no way you can figure out where, but because of the design, it's easy to remember the location of the colored wires. So that's one thing to consider. And also take notice of, if you look at the back, there are quite a few of the numbers. That's actually the position numbers that help you to realign the element to the back of the unit. So over here on my old unit, I have number 27, actually have a hole over there, and number 63, I have a hole over there. So on the new unit, you have to align it. Find the number 27, which is right over here. As you can see, this unit, because they haven't been mounted, so there's no holes over there. But when you put it underneath the mounting bracket, make sure you put the screw in the corresponding holes 27 and 63. And that way you can make sure it's all aligned very nicely. So I know for the Whirlpool, the instruction sometimes says if you have a different epic sensor, you need to replace the entire unit, which I don't think applies to any of the newer oven designs. So don't worry about that. Just use whatever is on the new one and plug the wire correspondingly into the new one, and you should be fine. And on the old one, on the instruction sheet, it also mentioned if the limiter is of different size and location, you might need a extension wire, which is already provided to you in the unit. For this dual element, it gives me 3 wires, and if you look closely, it's actually the 2 wires have smaller connector pin size and have double insulation, and the big one actually have single insulation and a wider connector. So make sure you're connecting if you need to use the extension wire, because the limiter size is different and the location is slightly different. You might need to use extension wire. It's plug and play, so it's very easy to use. If the wire is shorter, make sure you use the extension and try not to pull on the wire so hard and damage the wiring connectors. And that should sum up the whole experience I had when I installed the burning unit. And if you also look closely, the new unit actually have a improved wire design. The old unit is kind of bare bone and there's actually empty space inside. The new one actually covers the entire area very nicely. Also, the difference between the old element and the new one is the old one have a older ceramic style. I think that's a temperature sensor, maybe. and the new one have a stainless steel sensor. And the sensor is also longer, situated inside the element. So don't be concerned if you have received your new unit and it's a little bit different than your old one, because it's an improved design. As long as the pins are all same, you should be fine to go. In terms of getting the oven popped up, every oven is different. For this Amana model, you have to first remove the front door, which is very easy to do because read your instruction manual, because every door might be slightly different. And this one is very easy because it have a kind of a lock. So basically, you flip the lock on two sides, you can just pull the door out completely. And when you need to put it back in, slide the door in and put the lock back on, and it will complete the front door installation. In terms of popping up the top of the wrench, it's also very easy. Usually there are screws in the front that's holding the front area of the oven. So if you look closely on my model, it have actually two different screws. So the one, if you look closely, there are two screws, the one on the outside and the one on the inside. And for my oven, this piece is actually removable. So this piece actually connects the top one and the bottom one. And that's why it have two screws, because one screw is connecting to the top of the wrench hood and the bottom one is connecting to the oven area. So read your manual and see which screw you're supposed to be removing. In my case, if I remove either the front or the back, it should work. So that doesn't matter much. If you need to find something to pop up the wrench and work underneath, I used actually, let's see, I just popped up my oven like that and used a hammer because it's optimized the length to work underneath. And make sure when you pop up your wrench hood, do not lose any screws, and remove everything in the order. So later on when you put it back together, you know which order to put all the screws back together. And that should help you get your oven burning element replaced very nicely and smoothly without any problems. So if you guys have any other questions about replacing your burning element, feel free to ask me in the comment section, and I'll try my best to help you guys. Of course, I hope you find this video helpful. If you do, please like the video. I would appreciate it very much. And that concludes this video. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day.